There are so many parts of life where we use our mind, our brilliant brains, and figure things out. And the part of us that is active when we are being highly functional in this manner is not the part that enjoys a romantic connection. In fact, the parts of our brain and our mindset and our attitude that has us accomplish all kinds of things and think and be smart and do math and perform surgeries and have a brilliant to-do list and get our shopping done in time. Those parts of ourselves, which are very important and I honor them, they often get in the way of creating a sense of bonding and pleasurable gratification and attunement to one another and really feeling like you belong to one another and can light up one another's worlds. And by worlds, I mean bodies and souls. So what I want to talk about in more detail is not all the things that essentially erode the quality of bonding you have with your partner, namely getting things done. I mean, it's nice to have a reliable partner that you know they're going to pay the bills on time, that they're going to lock the door at night. Those are all actually important in a relationship, but they don't enhance and deepen and make more appealing the bond that you share. The thing that does that happens in the realm of feelings and sensations, physical sensations and emotional feelings. So yes, you can have an alignment in the vision for your life and in the day-to-day decisions you make where your mind meets your partner's mind and it's a happy marriage. But in terms of really knowing you're with the right person and feeling delicious as the decades pass, that happens in the realm of feelings and physical sensations. So I'm going to talk about 3 ways that you can genuinely nurture your bond that has to do with feelings and mostly physical sensations. Let's first address the misconceptions. I think one idea that both men and women have is that if you want to have really great sex and you want to improve the quality of sex you're having, then you hope your partner becomes a better lover. And if only your partner were a better lover, things would be so much more delightful and passionate in the bedroom. That is actually not the situation. Actually, let me just say, it's not the whole situation. I'm all for your partner becoming a better lover, and that certainly does enhance what's happening in the bedroom. But that doesn't even matter unless something else gets attention first. Because when it comes to a long-lasting, committed, healthy marriage, everything that isn't sex functions as foreplay. It either brings you closer together or pushes you further apart. So if you are waiting for the turn on and the sexy moves as you're taking your clothes off, that's just way too late in the context of a committed relationship with mature people participating. So let me be really clear. If you have a one-night stand, what I'm saying does not apply. But in the context of a life that you're building with someone, you have had sex with them more times than you can count, you wake up together in the same bed, you have the same children, you have really built a life together, then you can't just expect the sparks are going to fly when it's time to copulate. This is not a compartmentalized activity. So really, the foreplay begins as soon as you've just finished having sex. The foreplay for the next encounter begins. And I don't really say this to put a lot of pressure. It's not that every single interaction needs to feel sexy. Please don't take it to that extreme. But I am saying that when you sit across from your partner at dinner, whether you're on a date or you have a mess of kids at the table, look at your spouse as a man look at your spouse as a woman, not just as the functional partner who's going to help get these kids to bed. You need to open your attitude to let the yumminess in any time of day or night. This is a very hard won lesson because in my marriage, we've been married 28 years now, but it was maybe 10 or 12, and our marriage was so dehydrated. I learned, and my husband learned, how we could really heat up our sex life. It went from dry, dehydrated, functional to really passionate and gratifying. But then I had a new dilemma. Like, I didn't want to just feel that wonderful while having sex, because how many hours of the week am I going to spend having sex? What about all the other times? And so I wanted to feel alive, feel like a sexual woman while cooking dinner, while driving to work, while kissing my husband goodbye in the morning. And I developed what I call everyday eroticism, which is the capacity to turn any moments into juicier moments. That doesn't mean that you're not functional. You still get everything done, but you don't clamp down and put in a box the part of yourself that will blossom and take over when it's time for a passionate experience. So there are 3 things that you can do, both some individually and some with your partner, that are guaranteed to deepen the intimacy you share and lubricate both your souls and your bodies for when it's time to actually have sex together. 3 things to really inspire the connection between you and your partner. One thing is to do something new. Now, what that can be is going to depend on your interests. Maybe you take dance lessons. Maybe you go rollerblading. Maybe you go to a French class together. Maybe you go to a cafe you've never tried. Maybe you hike in a place you're used to walking, but you take a different route. As human beings, we definitely need stability, steadiness, consistency, and reliability. And in a healthy marriage, there's usually plenty of that. What more often is missing is variety, spice. Variation is really what cultivates the bond and connection and has it feel like you're not in the same conversation you've been in 100 times before. You want to kind of just shed any sense of things being rote with your partner. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to engage in activities that are new to the two of you to do it together. Take a martial arts class, go to a different kind of genre of movie, take a cooking class. If he usually massages her, have her massage him. Anything that you do, you can make a variation. In fact, enroll in the Aligned and Hot Marriage program. It's my program for enhancing the bond, deepening connection. I teach really basic, beautiful, fun communication tools. And there are plenty of people who do that as a date night because it's not anything they've ever done before and it's super valuable content. But whatever it is, whether it's a physical activity or a new interest, a new skill, I think you get the idea. If you want a deeper connection and you're both a yes, do something new. And if it feels confronting or awkward, okay, just enjoy that, because in the process, you are expanding the field of intimacy. Even if what you decide to do, neither of you enjoy it. Let's say you decide to go axe throwing and one or both of you don't enjoy it, then you just laugh at how that was something new and you won't do it again. But bringing yourselves out of a routine does wonders for increasing connection. The second thing that really enhances your bond, non-sexual physical touch. If you want more passion, more sexual touch, more erotic turn on, one of the very best things you can do if you're in a marriage of toleration, a marriage that's relatively dehydrated, one or both of you are really focused on your career or on the children or on any of the things that keep the sparks from flying, non-sexual touch is a really underrated way to open up the connection. Now, there are a few rules of engagement for non-sexual touch. The first and most important rule is that very often one or both people assume that as soon as affection begins and non-sexual touch is happening, if the person receiving, not the one initiating, but if the person receiving is responsive, he or she is going to worry that that means they're committed to having sex. And so it needs to be well established in your relationship that you can have affection, that you can kiss in a passionate way. Or one of the things I love when I'm cooking is my husband will walk by and just breathe on the back of my neck. And sometimes I turn around and embrace him, and sometimes I just smile and keep cooking. So he knows that I've enjoyed it. But the point is that when we touch one another, we are honoring a deep need we have as humans. It gets the oxytocin flowing. It helps us feel grounded and embodied and connected. There are all these statistics that kind of make me laugh because I don't know enough about how the data was done, where a 6-minute kiss increases oxytocin, the bonding hormone, or a 30-second hug. Just hug and connect enough to feel connected, however long that takes. And if it's a while, let it be a while. Or in the evening when you're lying in bed, you can spoon with one another, or even one of you massage the other without it meaning that you have to have sex. The chances of you having sex increases significantly. But what non-sexual physical touch does, well, first of all, it honors one of our senses that is so often neglected. You may have a wife who is touched out. She's touched by the children all the time and she doesn't want any more touch. Well, then maybe what she needs is a bath, some time alone. But very often when a woman feels touched out, it's touched out by the kind of touch which takes and needs. Children, they need their mother. And while if you're a man watching this, maybe you don't feel at all like a child, and I hope that's the case, but still the touch can feel needy, like the non-sexual physical touch can be the kind where it's to meet your own needs. When a woman is touched out, she does not need any more touch that's motivated to fill somebody else's bucket, to meet their needs. A woman who's touched out often is available for the kind of touch which is replenishing, nourishing, attuned to what's going to have her feel good in her own body. So when something sad has happened, when there's been a miscarriage, death in the family, bad news, stress from work, financial complications, children acting out, whatever the situation is, there are all kinds of things that can put us into a kind of stress response, fight or flight, sympathetic nervous system, cortisol, however you want to talk about it. You just don't feel good. Well, non-sexual physical touch is a prime way to access relaxation, ease, breathing more deeply, and tapping into the capacity to receive pleasure. So I've said this in many different ways because for any given marriage, how this happens is going to be highly variable. If the two of you are not affectionate with one another, then maybe start by gently having your hand on your partner's lower back, not asking for anything, just gently saying hello. In some marriages, it would be totally inappropriate to start doing this without actually having a conversation, or maybe suggesting that your partner watches either this whole video or just this portion of it so that they're oriented to how you're going to approach it. The point is that the non-sexual physical touch should not be jarring. And actually, I've had clients where they actually like to be touched. Her husband would reach out in affectionate ways, just in everyday interactions, but she would find it jarring. It's not because she didn't want to be touched. It's because the manner in which he approached wasn't attuned. It was more of like the way guys will say high five in the locker room. It's like, hi, honey. No, that is not typically how a woman wants to be touched. She needs to feel that you're coming in and then that you land. Let there be a little bit of a moment of anticipation. That is much more likely. Then again, some women are going to like a light touch and some are going to like a more firm touch. Although typically when a woman doesn't like a light touch, it's because what she's feeling is her partner's hesitancy. So any of this non-sexual physical touch needs to be done with confidence and conviction, not dominance necessarily, but confidence. Just touch with conviction. That is what allows a kind of internal melting and bonding, and the stresses of the day just fall off our shoulders, and we're available to enjoy the bond, which in turn is what deepens it. The third way to increase the intimate bond you have with your partner, I'm going to call erotic attention, because one of the biggest turn-ons is attention. If you don't pay attention to your woman, the likelihood that she's going to feel attracted to you is very low. So if you're a man, up your attention, up your focus, not in a way that feels scrutinizing, but in a way that feels admiring. Think of the way you might approach a rose blossom. You look at it, you smell it, you notice its color, maybe the feel of the petals. Think of how you can equivalently approach your woman so that she feels your gaze and feels adored. Because if you're able to look at her with adoration while she's carrying the baby to the crib, if you can look at her in a way where she feels seen and respected and honored as a woman as she comes home with her briefcase and gets out of the car, there is a way that you can bring very subtly, not in a demanding way. It's just in how you look at her and what you focus on. If you can bring that kind of erotic attention, she's going to respond. In fact, when I was doing my training, one of the exercises involved teaching a sex partner how to look at a woman's vulva and just say, I see that your vulva is pink. I see the glistening that's happening around your clitoris. I see the pubic hairs that are kind of tangled on the left side and smoother on the right side. These are very basic things to perceive, but when you look at your woman and give her a deep erotic attention, well, she might feel embarrassed if she's not used to attention, but most often, no matter what she's thinking, when you're looking at her vulva and speaking that way, it will respond involuntarily. Now, I'm not talking about walking around when she's getting dressed and commenting. This is the sort of thing that you do when you're both in a peaceful sexual mode, but there's an equivalent to that. Do you notice how your wife wears her hair? And do you tell her you like it? Do you notice which jewelry she's wearing? What colors and cuts are most complementary? Do you notice how she likes to dance to this kind of music and not that? Attention is one of the most potent lubricants to light up a relationship and deepen a bond. If you go from never doing this to full on doing it all the time, she's just going to wonder what happened to you. But slowly notice in a calibrated way, and when she feels seen, she will be more responsive. And if you're a woman looking to deepen the bond, well, honestly, ask your man what he wants and then give your attention to it. Get behind it. Honor what he says rather than trying to figure it out for him. If you're looking to just have the intimacy feel more alive, more vibrant, have it lead to more passion and sex, but also just feel good and delicious while you're walking to the post office, doing anything mundane, then 3 ways you can definitely light up your relationship is learn or do something new that you haven't done before, you haven't done together before. Increase the non-sexual touch you have without an agenda, even though, P.S., it will result in more sexual touch. And if you're a man, increase the quality of attention and comment on what you see in your woman. And if you're a woman, focus on what your man actually wants. Ask him, and if he doesn't answer, up your attention to notice what has him feel safe. Because most of the time when a man is unavailable for intimacy, emotional or sexual, is because he doesn't feel safe. So what can you do to make him feel more safe to open up to you? And if you want more tips, subscribe and keep following.